going to go through it again. So hopefully it'll consolidate all of that information. Alrighty. Okay, guys, let us get into our lesson. So I'm going to sort of do a bit of a recap from what we were speaking about towards the end of Wednesday's lesson, just because we didn't do a whole lot of examples like this, but they are very important, especially when we start simplifying more and more algebraic terms. Sorry, I don't know what's happened here. And that's essentially where we're heading. We want to be able to simplify algebraic expressions comfortably and confidently, and so we need to understand operations as we go about it. All right, so just a reminder of what algebra actually is. So algebra, remember, is the use of letters to represent unknowns, and we call those letters variables. So it is using variables to represent unknown values. Now, we have to be able to work with algebra in a whole bunch of different mathematical contexts. As you start to go more and more and more in maths, algebra is going to be basically all in everything that you do in most sections. And so getting these foundations right is so important. And this is why we are going quite slowly, but it's because when I say everything is based on algebra, I mean most of maths. You're going to find algebra in almost every single section that you do. All right, so when we are multiplying with variables, there's a couple of things that we need to bear in mind. Now, we're going to do exponents next term, and this is going to lead a lot into algebra. But for now, when multiplying or dividing, we need to remember our SNV. So SNV allows us to correctly multiply and divide terms, and do it step by step so that we're not getting anything wrong. So S is signs, N is numbers, V is variables. Now, what I want you guys to remember as well is that in front of any variable, you will always have a coefficient. That coefficient might be 1, but that coefficient might be something else as well. So just to take a little like side note here, if you have something like 2x, 2 is your coefficient, x is your variable, and what you need to remember is that the operation occurring between those two is multiplication. So coefficient in front of a variable is saying 2 times whatever x is. So now when we do our SNV, we have got our signs. This is a positive 3 and a positive 1a, or positive a, so our signs are positive. We don't have to stress there. And then we get to our numbers. So 3 times 1 just gives us 3. When we now get to our variables, we only have one variable here, a. There's no other variable that I need to worry about. When I start doing exponents next term, we will start have to consider our variables a little bit more carefully. But right now, we've just got an a there. It's not doing anything. We leave it there as our answer. And so this now links to what we've said down here, because if I now told you, say, for example, a is equal to -5, you need to understand that that is saying 3 times -5. Righty, if we then look at question B, again, what you need to remember is that all of these variables have a coefficient of 1. They are all positive, which means our final sign is going to be positive. And 1 times 1 times 1 is still 1. So if you want to write the coefficient of 1 there, that's fine, but you don't have to. And now again, all of our variables are different. We've got A times B times C. They represent 3 different unknown values. And so the product of them is just A, B, C. Okay. Sounded like something crashed against my window, but anyways. So we just have A, B, C. Now, what I want you to remember, and this is what we said in our last lesson, is that whenever we have multiple variables, so more than one type of variable, we always want to try and put it in alphabetical order. Oh, that's not how you spell alphabetical. Now, the reason for that is going to become a lot clearer in our next lesson when we start talking about like terms. But if your variables, or if your letters are in alphabetical order, it becomes a lot easier to identify which terms you can add together and which terms you need to subtract, etc., etc. So try and always write your variables in alphabetical order when you've got more than one. But our product there, like I say, is just A, B, C. This again means that if I gave you values for A, B, and C, you would need to know that you are multiplying them all together. Alrighty, so it seems like we're all on it. So I'm going to ask you to try the next two. My numbering's a bit weird here, so C and D. I want you guys to give that a go. I'll leave A and B up just in case you want them there to have a look, but put your answers for C and D on the chat. Ooh, excuse me. So put your answers in the chat. Let's see what you get. And then when I ask, you can raise hands to explain to me. But for now, I just want answers on the chat.
Let's go, my people.
Okay, guys, what I want you to take note of is where your variables are in the fraction. So remember, your variable can't just move in a fraction. If the variable was originally in the numerator and you haven't cancelled it out or anything like that, it must stay in the numerator. If it was originally in the denominator, it must stay in the denominator. So we can't just move variables within a fraction. If they are supposed to be at the top, they must stay at the top. If they're supposed to be at the bottom, they must stay at the bottom. So just bear that in mind as you're going through C and D, well, actually both of them. Also remember that when you are simplifying your numbers, they won't necessarily cancel each other out perfectly. So you might still end up with a fraction in your answer. No, sorry, everyone. That was a weird hiccup thing that just happened. And remember, guys, when you're trying to simplify your numbers, you are asking yourself, what is the biggest value that can divide into both? So for example, question C, you need to ask yourself, what is the biggest value that can divide, or the biggest number that can divide into 12 and 15? Okay, I'm going to give you another minute or so. Make sure you've got everything written down, guys, so that when we do go through this, you can make corrections and you can mark.
Just remember, you must write it on your book, okay? See you, Wayne. Hopefully you're writing everything on your book so you can do corrections. I see you, my guy. I see you. You're writing things down so you can mark it. Guys, don't try to solve the equations on your head because you will forget what you actually got. So write it down. I know I'm dealing with geniuses, people, but preferably write it down. Let's go, my people.
Alrighty,
we
guys.
See you, Goody. Yes, I'm sorry.
No. Okay, guys, if anyone wants to raise their hand to help me out with C and D, this would be great. Bonolo, help me with C.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
So, ma'am, firstly, I said 12 divided by 15, which gave me 4/5.
Cool.
Then I wrote my variables. At 4, ma'am, I wrote X, Y, and at 5, I wrote Y.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, and I checked if it can simplify, but it can't.
Okay, cool. So, guys, just so we all know where the 4 and the 5 came from, I can divide 3 into both 12 and 15. So 12 divided by 3 is 4. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So that's where the simplified numbers came from. Then what I quite like there that Vanolo said is that once we dealt with the numbers, let's just put our variables there. They're still there. We can't ignore them, but they are there. Now, guys, what I want you to remember is that whenever you divide something by itself, so say, for example, 3 divided by 3 or -7 divided by -7, whenever you divide a value by itself, you always end up with 1. So if we consider this y divided by y situation, because we're dividing y by itself, we get 1. These actually cancel each other out, essentially. And so what you are actually left with is the 4x in your numerator and the 5 in your, whoopsie daisies, and the 5 in your denominator. So we need to be very, very careful when we are simplifying to make sure that if we can cancel variables, we do so. There's nothing wrong with canceling variables because we have said that when we divide something by itself, we get 1. So as long as I can cancel top with bottom, i.e. a y in the top with a y in the bottom, we're absolutely fine. So your answer for C, 4x over 5. Palentle, do you want to help me with, what are we on, D?
Ma'am.
Hi.
How I got D, I said I divided both the numerator and the denominator by 2, and then
Perfect.
I got 12y over 1x.
Perfect. So 12y over 1x. Can you simplify that any further?
No, ma'am.
Perfect. Right, so guys, again, the 24 divided by 2 gave us 12. 2 divided by 2 gave us 1. Because these variables here are now different, so you've got a y in your numerator and then you've got an x in your denominator. They are 2 different variables. They represent 2 different unknowns. Because they are different variables, we cannot do what we did in C and cancel. If it was y over y or x over x, sure, but we can't here. And so that means that the y variable must stay in my numerator. It started off in the numerator. It must stay in the numerator. And the x variable must stay in my denominator. It started in the denominator. It must finish in the denominator. Now, you don't have to write the 1 in front of the x. So if you wrote this as 12y over x, that is also absolutely fine. Either one I'd be happy with. Either one I'd give you full marks for. That looks a bit weird. So let me just not do that. So either 12y over 1x or 12y over x. Either way, absolutely fine. Right, so I'm going to let you take a screenshot there. While you guys are taking screenshots, if anyone has any questions, now is the time to raise your hand. And then I'm going to give you 2 more to try, and then we'll see where we're at. No questions, grade 8s. Tatenda, question?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, I don't understand C.
Sorry, which one don't you understand?
The C one, the 12xy over 15y.
Okay, so which part don't you understand?
How we got 4x over 5, ma'am?
Okay, so guys, if I just quickly go back to C, I'm just going to take out all the writing. So if we start with the numbers, so if we ignore the variables for a second and we just look at the numbers, both of those can be divided by 3. So if I say 12 divided by 3, I get 4. And if I say 15 divided by 3, I get 5. So that's my number sorted. I then still have the xy at the top and the y at the bottom. Now, what I need to remember is that whenever I divide a value by itself, so y divided by y, 3 divided by 3, if I'm dividing exactly the same thing by itself, they actually cancel each other out. So this is a fraction would be 3 over 3, and they would cancel each other out, leaving me with 1. And so that's going to happen with the y's. The y's cancel each other out because they divide each other away. And so we're left with the 4x in my numerator and the 5 in my denominator. Alrighty, so I hope that makes a bit more sense to Tender. And I know there was someone else, and Paul, I hope that makes more sense, but just remember, keep asking if it doesn't. But essentially, through simplifying the numbers and through canceling out the variables that can cancel out, we've simplified our fraction. Vanilla, you might need to log out and log back in again if your screen has gone blank. Guys, I'm assuming everyone has got their screenshots, so that is the last two that I want you to try. Again, my numbering, E and F. So I want you to try E and F for me. Put them in on the chat for me. Remember to number them so that I know which is which. Remember to go step by step. There's no reason to try and do everything all at once, especially with question F. I'm glad we're thinking about our fractions here. Well done.
Let's go, my people. Y'all are doing good.
Nice, guys. Keep them coming. Well done. Just be careful with F. That division essentially means you have a fraction. And so just make sure that you have put the correct values in your numerator and your denominator. If someone asked me to go back to C and D, so there they are. You can still see E and F. Remember your variables, guys. They don't just disappear unless you cancel them like what we did in C. Okay, F is tricky, guys, so don't stress. It's supposed to be a little bit tricky. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. We're not 100% there yet, but we're on the right track. I'm going to give you another minute, and then we're going to have a look. So if you want to double check your answer for F, just make sure that you've left the variables in the correct position. So check, is the X in the numerator or is it in the denominator? Is the Y in the numerator or is it in the denominator? And it should stay where it is. Alrighty, who wants to raise their hand to help me with E? Luandle, do you want to help me with E?
Hello, ma'am.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm okay. So for E, I said 4x, right? Since it was a fraction, I said 4x over 12. 12 did not have any variable. So I said 4x and saw that 4 and 12 can't divide by 4. So I was like, okay. 12 divided by 4, it gave me 4, 8, 12, 16. It gave me 4. And then
3.
4 divided by 4. Oh, sorry. 4
Mm-hmm.
divided by 4 gave me 1.
Yeah.
And then I said, and then since 4 had x, I just added the variable x, not forgetting.
Excellent. Well done. Guys, that's so important. Do not forget that variable. It is there. It doesn't just disappear. So like Luan says, English. Luan said, if that x is there and we haven't cancelled it out, it needs to stay there. It was in the numerator. That's where it lives. Don't get rid of it. Right. So here, 1x over 3, or you can just write x over 3, whatever you want. You don't have to put the 1 coefficient there. Tando, you can divide by 2. So this is a good point here, guys. So if you saw this fraction and you decided, okay, I'm actually going to divide both of these by 2, that's not wrong. But once you've divided by 2, you get 2x over 6. That can still be divided further. So you need to go that extra step and divide again by 2. It is not fully simplified until you can't divide anymore. So whilst not wrong, we do need to keep dividing until we can't anymore. Koktatso, you can't divide by 3 because we can't divide 4 by 3 without a remainder. So just be careful with that one there. Okay, Lunofefe, do you want to help me with F?
Yeah, hi, ma'am.
Hi.
So F is saying 2 in brackets, 3, and then in brackets x, and then brackets 4 divided by 6y. So I said, so the relationship between 2 and the 3 that is in brackets. In fact, here the relationship between 2 and the brackets is multiplication.
Good.
So I said 2 times 3 times x times 4 divided by 6y.
Okay, so guys, if we want to, we can do exactly that and write them with multiplication signs so that we know exactly what that relationship or operation between them is. All divided by 6y. Okay, carry on.
And then I said 2 times 3 is equals to 6 times x times 4 still divided by 6y.
Okay.
And then I said 6 times x, which is equals to 6x times 4 divided by 6y. And then I said 6x times 4, which is equals to 24x divided by 6y, gave me 4xy.
Okay, good. So guys, what I really like here is that you don't need to rush and do everything. Do it step by step. It's not necessary to try to do everything all at once. So once we've multiplied here, sorry, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. 24 can be divided by 6, and so can 6. So by dividing those each by 6, we're getting 4x over y. Now, again, remember, the x was originally in the numerator. It needs to stay in the numerator. The y was originally in the denominator. It must stay in the denominator. I'm not canceling them out. So you should have that fraction answer because you have something left in your denominator. Very nicely done. Thank you. Right, so guys, take your screenshots there if you need to still. And guys, it's absolutely cool if you're finding this easy. That's fine. But just remember that not everyone is. So let's be supportive of each other. And it is going to get harder. So we're starting off easy because it is going to get trickier and trickier and trickier as we go along. So as long as we find this stuff as we do it more and more nice and easy for ourselves, we should be okay as we go along. Right, so you're taking screenshots. If anyone has any questions, now is the time to raise your hand. Otherwise, we are going to take our brain break as soon as your screenshot taking is done. Any questions, grade 8? Now's the time. Ungiwe?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, is it fine if I said 2 open bracket 3 close bracket open bracket times close bracket another open bracket 4 close bracket divided by 6y equals to 6 times 4 divided by 6y equals to 24 divided by 6y equals to 4.
Okay, so just be careful. This is not a times, that is a variable x. So it's not saying times 4, it's saying x as your variable. So just be careful, it's not a times sign.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Umfa?
Ma'am,
Yes?
is it a must to add the variables?
Yes, the variables are there, they can't just disappear. Yes. Good. Okay, so guys, your variables must be there. The only time they won't be there is if you cancel them out. So if we go back to C, we canceled out the Y, so the Y fell away. But in E and F, there was no canceling of the variables, so they needed to stay there. Righty, guys, I'm hoping you've all got your screenshots. Very nice. Brain break time. Renilwe, it has to be a fraction. Because you've got the Y left in your denominator, it does need to be a fraction. There's something in your denominator that isn't 1. And so, yes, it should be a fraction. Right, brain break. Oopsie. So, for those of you that, I'm just doing this so that you can see the joke if you want to see the joke. For those of you that might be new to a brain break or this type of brain break, basically what we want to do here is we want to work out the value of the very, very last equation or the very last expression down here. Now, guys, this is basically algebra. So this is very good practice for all the things that we're eventually going to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this bigger just in case you want to see, or just in case it's not clear whether there's one, I nearly said one person's, one person or 2 people. So we're going to wait to see if we get the right answer on the chat.
Yes. I am here, my people.
If and when we see the right answer, we will call out your name and you can explain to us how you did it, but give it a try.
Yeah. Let's go to all of you who found what we're learning a little bit easier. This should be challenging to you. So that's why we're having some brain breaks that will shake your mind. Now it's time to actually think, huh? Because teacher Sam was teaching us and we were understanding everything, but then now is the brain break and suddenly we need to find an answer of different persons there. Guys, I know the answer, by the way. So let's go. I'll definitely let you know if you get it right or not. So don't calculate it step by step. Please do it on your book, or you are allowed to put it. It's just you are helping others, which there's nothing wrong with it. But I'll let you know if it's wrong or not. Okay, so Deborah 164 is wrong. Keep trying. But I'll let you know. Definitely let you know when you're right. Let's go, my people. Let me see the people that are focusing.
Guys, this is basically solving equations.
Yeah. Tandoloetsu, nope. Not it. I see you, Mnoto. Let's do it. Let's go. I see you trying to work it out. Let's go. No, someone got it, Teacher Sam.
Oh, so quick.
Already. Deborah. I hope I'm right. I think so. Yeah, it should be.
Yeah,
Deborah is our winner so far, guys. Deborah got the right answer. Deborah, well done. Deborah, do you want to raise your hand so that we can ask you how you got the answer? Bonolo, yes. Fatma, yes.
Okay, Deborah, tell us.
Yeah.
Afternoon or evening, sorry.
Oh yeah, it is evening here. So
in
Deborah,
the-
tell us.
So in the first equation, there are 6 standing men, and 36 divided by 6 is 6. So 1 man is equivalent to 6. So in the second equation, there's 4 men. So we know that 2 men are 12. So 12 times 12 is 144. And then 162 minus 144 is 18. So the total for the girls are 18, and 18 divided by 2 is 9. So each girl is 9.
Okay, cool.
Then for the third equation, we know the girls are 18. So 418 minus 18 is 400. So there are 4 kneeling men. So 400 divided by 4. No, I think I'm doing this wrong. Sorry. We learned in school that 20 squared is 400.
Okay,
so each kneeling man is equivalent to 10.
Perfect, good.
So then for the last one standing man is equivalent to 6. So 6 times 9, which is the value for the girl, is 54, and 2 kneeling men are 20. So it's 20 plus 54 is 74.
Excellent, well done. And guys, very, very importantly, do you all hear that Deborah did the times first? BODMAS, times has to happen first. So we first times the 9 and we first times the 9 and the 6 to get our 54, and then only do we add 20. All right, so very nicely done. Very nice. Guys, that was very nice to explain. So I hope you were all listening. But essentially, we needed to figure out what each of the little people represented. Just for those of you that do seem a bit confused, I'm going to explain the first one. We've got 3 identical pictures that must add together to give me 36. So I need 3 identical numbers that add together to give me 36. 12 plus 12 plus 12 gives me 36. So every time I see 2 men standing up in a shirt, I know I'm working with 12. But what I also know is that if I separate these 2 people, each of them is equal to 6, because 6 plus 6 is 12. And so from that sort of place, we can start to work out the rest of our people's values and essentially our unknowns. This is like algebra. Alrighty, so, oops, sorry. I don't know if you want to take a screenshot, but I'll wait here for 2 seconds in case you do. Otherwise, we're going to carry on with our algebra. And we're going to have a look at writing out some algebraic expressions, taking very careful note of the words described to us, or like the way a question is phrased, so that we understand how to write an algebraic expression. Alrighty. So we did do a couple of these last week, so hopefully these will go pretty quickly. I'm going to do some with you. I'm going to let you do others by yourself. So just listen to me first, and then I'll tell you which ones you're going to do by yourselves. First, sorry, if you want to see the joke. What did the acorn say when it grew up? Gee, I'm a tree. I love my math jokes. They're so, I don't even know.
It's really a good one. I had to think about it. Maybe that's why. Like I didn't get it at first. Then I was like, oh.
The brackets help, because I think if I didn't put the brackets in, I also wouldn't have gotten it properly.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, guys, so let's have a look at our expressions. Like I say, just wait before you all start rushing. I will tell you which ones to do. We're going to start by doing A together. And again, we need to read carefully. So this says add C to 9. If I had told you to add 2 to 5, you would have told me 5 plus 2. So the order here is important. We're adding C to 9. So we've got 9 plus C. C is our variable in each of these cases. Now, guys, we do know that order of addition doesn't matter. Whether you say 1 plus 2 or 2 plus 1, either way, you're going to get an answer of 3. So yes, technically c plus 9 is correct, but according to the wording, it said add c to 9. So we should write down 9 plus c. If we then have a look at question C, it's telling us to multiply 7 by C. So it's telling us to take 7 and times it by the variable C. Now we can simplify that because we've already discussed or had the discussion around coefficients. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we had this discussion over here. And so we can actually write this, if we want to, as just 7c. It means the same thing. We know that there is a multiplication between the 7 and the c. Now, guys, quickly on the chat, if I ask you for half of something, what like operation or what mathematical sum am I doing if I'm halving something? So in the chat, tell me, what are we doing? Okay. Well done. We're dividing. Can we be a bit more specific? What do we divide by? Tando, nice. We are dividing by 2. If we are halving something, we want to split it equally in 2. And so half of c would be c divided by 2. Now, again, I prefer fractions, so we can definitely write this if we want as a fraction of c over 2. It's the same thing. I would give you the marks whether you said c divided by 2 or put it in a fraction. It's absolutely fine. But half of something we are dividing by 2. So what I want you guys to try is B, D, and F for me. Put your answers in the chat. Oops, daisies. And we will have a look in a minute or two what your answers are. Again, please read carefully. I want the order correct. Even if it's the same thing, I want the correct order. That's the point of these questions.
Let's go.
Remember to put the number there, so B, D, F, so we know which is which. And read it carefully, guys. It says subtract C from 10. Divide C by 5. Add 10 to C. So read them carefully. Especially the subtraction one. Subtraction order is very important. If we don't put it in the correct order, we are not going to get it right. Oh.
Let's go, my people. Y'all are doing it.
Guys are doing really well. Keep it coming. Right, does anyone want to raise their hands to give me some answers here? Mlentle, do you want to help me with B?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
B, I said 10 minus C.
Perfect. 10 minus C. We want to take C away from 10. So again, guys, that order is very important with subtraction. Very nice. Well done. If your order is incorrect, it is wrong. Okay, for subtraction, that order needs to be correct. Avlela, do you want to help me with D? Oh, sorry, I think I muted you. Sorry, you're going to need to unmute. That was my fault. There we go.
D is C divided by 5.
Perfect. C divided by 5. If you wrote it as a fraction, C over 5, that's absolutely fine. But importantly, it was C divide, or rather divide C by 5. So the 5 had to be our denominator. Very nicely done. Hands, guys, well done. Aluta, do you want to help me with F?
Yes, ma'am. Question
Okay.
2. I said C plus 10.
Perfect. So guys, it said add 10 to C. So we've got C and we're adding 10 to it. Now again, addition, the order isn't super important, but according to those words, according to that specific statement, it needs to be C plus 10. Right, very nicely done, guys. We've got a couple more minutes, so I'm going to do one more type of question. And then it's poll day, so remember there's a poll for you to do. But take your screenshots here, and then we're going to have a look at one more, and then we are going to see where we're at in life. Nunufefe, what people are you seeing? Alrighty, guys. So this example, excuse me, this is going to help us quite a lot when we start doing equations. When we do equations, you're going to see I'm going to have some flow diagrams for us. I'm just clicking buttons. I'm just doing whatever floats my boat here. You're going to see that we're going to do quite a few flow diagrams to start us off. And flow diagrams just help us understand like the order in which work must happen. And it helps us understand that when we have a value for a variable, it helps us to accurately determine the value of our expression. So if we have a look at question A here, we are wanting to, if we read the instructions, we want to write down an algebraic expression, and then we want to find the value of x equals 6. So this is almost a two-part question. So we've got part A and we've got part B. So let's start with part A. Firstly, I need to write my expression. So this flow diagram is telling me to take x, times it by 2. So let's start with that. So x times 2, which we know gives us 2x. And then it's telling me to take whatever that answer is and add 5. So I'm going to take my answer, 2x, and I'm going to add 5. So I have written down an algebraic expression that describes my flow diagram. If we then have a look at part B is telling me to find the value if x is equal to 6. So this is now a situation where you need to substitute. We spoke about this in our last lesson. If I now take my expression of 2x plus 5, what I want to do is I want to replace this x over here with the 6. So because we understand that this is 2 times x, I would have 2 times 6 plus 5. Now, guys, again, your order of work or BODMAS is very, very important when doing substitution. If you don't do your order of work correctly, you're going to get a weird answer. So we start with the multiplication, 2 times 6, which gives us, I nearly said 30. 2 times 6 gives us 12. And then we do the addition, giving us a final answer of 17. So when we are having a look at flow diagrams, it's sort of like writing an expression like we did in the previous example, but now there's no words. We have to follow the order of work in order to get an expression for us. All right, so last 2 minutes, I want you to give me the expression, so part A, and I want you to tell me the value of this expression again when x is equal to 6. So look at your flow diagram, see what's happening, and then give me the value. You can pop your answers in the chat. Excuse me.
Let's go, my people.
Try and write your expression as simplified as possible, just because that is eventually where we want to go, to have nice simplified expressions.
Yeah. I was just about to tell them that this is our last question of the night. Then let's see, Teacher Sam, maybe this should be, let me just work it out quickly. I'll let you know if anyone get it right on the comments. We will let you know. Okay, so we're gonna make it as fun as possible. This is our last lesson, our last not lesson, but our last question of the night. Okay. Let's
Okay, we're getting
go.
lots of awesome answers. Who was
How
the
did they
first
already
one?
get it right?
Yeah.
Oh, y'all are so
You're
fast.
on it. It was Tandawetu. Well done.
Oh, well done, y'all. Y'all did
Okay,
it nicely.
Tandawetu, do you want to raise your hand and tell us what we do here? There we go. Tell us.
Evening, ma'am.
Hi.
So I said since the variable is 6, I said 6 divided by 2 plus 7, and Budmus tells us that we have to do division first. So
Good.
I put the 6 divided by 2 in brackets, and that is 3 plus 7 gives us 10.
Perfect. Okay, so
Well
guys, again,
done.
order of work, so important. If your order of work is wrong, you're going to have a little oopsie doopsie. Right, just so we all know what the expression is, it says x divided by 2. So I would write that as a fraction because, like I say, we wanted as simplified as possible. And then whatever that answer is, we add 7 to it. So our expression would be x over 2 plus 7.
Well done, guys. Woo.
Okay, well
Big
done, guys.
screenshot.